Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the broadcast. My name is Justice Knight, co-host of Restricted Republic. Now, today is, as you would expect, a rather somber note. They have now voted to impeach President Donald Trump in the House, which all of us saw coming. This is no big shock, but that doesn't make it any less impactful and significant, what will now go down in the history books forever, at least until they change the history books. But underlying, there's something happening, a groundswell of sorts. Because as my shirt says, we the people have now awoken. And I don't want you to forget that. You see over my shoulder, the reaction they never expected now threatens to unleash the unthinkable. Thank God for that. Thank God he's overlooking this process in some ways, because I believe it's a larger plan. It's a plan to take back our country. It's a plan that I covered on Restricted Republic of 92% of Americans. 92% of Americans now believe our government is threatening our basic rights. That's a groundswell unlike anything we have ever seen. But to be able to see that, you have to be able to look past the lies and the manipulation. You must look at what has become the enemy of the state, the enemy of the republic, and understand the agenda behind what is a globalist agenda. This has nothing to do with, as so many of them said, having a heavy heart or protecting the Constitution. Because in actuality, their Article number 2 is against the Constitution. But let's let them speak for themselves.
This abuse of power also jeopardizes the integrity of our elections. All Americans agree that American voters should choose our president, not some foreign government.
But it's okay if we distract everybody from the fact that this is exactly what those foreign governments wanted. Because while we've been sitting here spending all our hard-earned money and tax dollars supporting a witch hunt, a fraudulent investigation, a hoax, a ruse, they've been growing. They've been developing. They've been doing things that to now most Americans, because we all work so hard, we have a limited bandwidth to process so much information, but what's happening in these foreign countries is a direct threat to our nation, so they're laughing at us. They're laughing at us because their intrusion has been misdirected. They're getting exactly out of our nation what they want. Nothing. They want us doing nothing. And that's exactly what many of these Democrats have accomplished.
Let's start by making this very simple. No one in America could do what Donald Trump did and get away with it. No American elected official can call up a foreign government and ask for an investigation of a political opponent. No member of Congress can call up a foreign official and ask for help in our re-election campaign.
And that's only a part of the incendiary statements that were made. No, of course not. And why would a president have a right to investigate anybody with corruption in foreign nations, with influence over things they shouldn't have had? But I'll digress for a minute.
Madam Speaker, I rise with a heavy heart.
That's one of the heavy hearts that we heard, of what appeared to be hundreds for those of you who tuned into this testimony and managed to stay awake. There were some good moments in it also. Some meltdowns on the House floor, as that article says, but they don't want you to see that. No, they want you distracted by fake polls. This one here, this was in the actual impeachment feed, a Fox News poll, because all of mainstream media is against you at this point in time. All mainstream media lies to you. 53% of Americans feel that the president abused his power, 48% that he obstructed Congress, 45%. that he committed bribery. That from Fox News, something that some of us at one point in time relied on for fair and balanced information. Well, that scale has now tipped off the counter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And we are here today to enter into a debate that should surprise no one. This has not been a surprise, and it's not even something that we would have not thought about. From the very moment that the majority party in this House won, the inevitability that we would be here today was only a matter of what date they would schedule it.
And the outcome, a foredrawn conclusion within minutes, hours of the announcement of President Donald Trump. And so we entered into a weird world that has twisted. Gohmert melts down on the House floor after Nadler accuses him of spouting Russian propaganda. I'm going to let you listen first, then comment after.
Mr. Speaker, I am deeply concerned that any member of the House would spout Russian propaganda on the floor of the House. I now yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New York, Mr. Higgins.
The gentleman from New York is recognized.
There he comes.
The House will come to order. The gentleman from New York is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The House will come to order.
The House is never coming to order anymore, America. The House is permanently out of order. That moniker above, "In God we trust." They trust in no one. They trust in their own interest, serving somebody outside of God, serving somebody outside of this country. America is now awakening to that fact. It's accelerating as we move forward.
This is not about the Ukraine. It's about power. Donald Trump has it, and House Democrats want it.
That's all we need to hear, because that's all this is about. They don't have it. Their globalist masters don't have it. So at all costs and at all expense, they'll advance it forward, but they don't want you to hear the voices of America. They don't want you to hear things like this.
My fellow Americans, what the hell is going on up in Congress? Hey, liberals, stop calling yourself liberal. You're not liberal. You're leftist, socialist, communist.
The Hodge twins. That's America waking up. I hope you feel it. I hope, as you saw in my tab, you're not shedding a tear, but rather realizing this is a turning point, in hopes that we start to gain some information that they don't want you to know. Of course, they show this wonderful chart of the votes, and I don't show you this chart, which is the majority of America being blue, except for those mega city regions that the United Nations wants so greatly to establish, where they maintain a foothold on all the votes by providing free money, free healthcare. But America, again, isn't falling for the ruse. A stunning vote reversal in a controversial First Amendment case. A Fifth Circuit panel judge has changed his mind about DeRay McKennison's liability for violence at a Baton Rouge protest. But Americans' right to protest is still under assault. What's the long and short of this? You see that we're protected for our right to protest. And in this event, a rock or hard object was thrown at a police officer. He was injured. The police officer went after the head of the protest. And at one point in time, that was actually proven in a court of law that he was liable. Well, now the Fifth Circuit panel judge has changed his mind on that ruling, saying that that's not constitutional. That violates the First Amendment, because that would put the fear in everybody to protest. And with what's happening right now, our right to protest needs to be protected. Peaceful protest, of course, but leaders shouldn't be held liable for the actions of others, especially those that may not be actually part of the protest. You see, the tide is turning. Virginia National Guard responds after Democratic lawmakers suggest it may be needed to enforce gun control measures. Why is that so significant? Because as the Democrats have seized control of Virginia, now massive gun law and gun confiscation is coming into play. They say we will use the National Guard if necessary to enforce our new policies. And the Virginia National Guard, in the most politically correct way, came out and said, hold on a minute. Or in their words, we understand and respect the passion people feel for the U.S. Constitution and Second Amendment rights. We will not speculate about the possible use of the Virginia National Guard. But if you go down in the notes a little bit further, it says, as private citizens, our personnel are free to express their opinions to their elected officials, but they should not engage in any political activity while in a uniform status. We are citizens. We are the people. We will adhere to the Constitution as we believe it to be. But mainstream media won't talk about that. They want you to be sleeping sheeples. They don't want you to know what's being ignored. Mainstream media ignores FISA court slamming FBI over Trump-related surveillance applications. No, shh. Don't let America know that it's waking up to our ruse and to our hoax. We have to keep them silent. We have to keep them hushed. We have to keep them not knowing this new momentum, as this article says, that's starting to take a foothold in the right direction, a foothold towards realizing and studying and understanding what our Constitution stands for, understanding that this distraction has allowed for little things like this, how China will take over the world. I'm going to cover this in much greater depth tomorrow on Restricted Republic, because while we've been distracted, while the globalists have had their way with us, China is about to take over monetization everywhere, because the US dollar is in big trouble. You could thank Facebook for this. You can thank Facebook for accelerating this move. You study a little bit deeper, you start to understand that China has been putting, as this article says, a Ponzi scheme, crippling cryptocurrency for their own devices, because we got to worry about hoax impeachments when China is grabbing control of money universally and doing a damn good job of it. But that's not important, I guess. It's not important to understand that Russia is now impinging on our borders with their spy ships, building their weapons, laughing at what they've caused, not in concert with the president, but in concert with the globalist agenda. And the tech titans run over their own employees, as many of you who work for the station I'm now broadcasting on understand. I stand by you. Reach out to us. We will broadcast anything you want, any time you want, because it's time your voices are heard too. I'm speaking with you directly. And I know many of you have penalized this channel for I don't know what reason. I don't curse. I don't call for violence, but yet you found it for some reason, something that shouldn't be heard. When in actuality, we're the ones who defend you. We're the ones who believe in you. We're the ones who need you to understand your freedoms and the Constitution as it stands. And you shouldn't be targets to this overlord that's controlling everything. Much like Facebook, who won't change their web tracking in response to a privacy law because they don't care. None of them care because it's part of their playbook. The playbook of impeachment that we watch played out with consequences that go down now in America's shameful history. Although, and as I covered on Restricted just a day ago, the Supreme Court's already ruled out Article 2 of the impeachment because it's not for the executive or legislative branch to rule on what President Trump decides not to adhere to as a subpoena. That's for the judicial branch to decide. But that was treaded over and rather impeachment rushed to effect an election. Exactly what they claim is being done on the other side. Because America, it's time to wake up. You're not alone. They don't want you to know this message. Top 5 rights and freedoms Americans feel are most threatened. Their right to free speech, 48%. Their right to bear arms, 47%. Their right to equal justice, 41%, because they're watching what's happening to a president. How do any of us stand a chance? 37%, their freedom of expression, 35%, their freedom of religion. That's why we spend so much time on platforms preaching, begging, asking, educating, talking, requesting responses, so that we as a group of patriots, a group of Americans, a group of believers in the Constitution can show that none of us are alone. The hoax has been perpetrated on all of America, no matter what side of the aisle you stand on. All I want is freedom. All I want is our Constitution adhered to. All I want is our rights, and these injustices prosecuted the way they should be. Because this isn't freedom. We're watching the era of socialism and communism cloud our great republic. And for that, I thank God that the impeachment in the House is done. And I pray that our Senate will prosecute this the correct way and show America what has happened. Or else we, as many of us already have, will lose faith in our entire government system. And that is the unfortunate consequence. Why you saw the tear on my tab. I want America to celebrate. But first we got to get through this atrocious and unfortunate series of events. Until next time, my name is Justice Knight. Godspeed and God bless. Signing out.